YouTube. Now, you may be like, what are we looking at here, Rhodes? We're looking at the Rickea Jackson number 5 Chicago Sky jersey. Guys, can I tell you, we've got Angel Reese fans that are mad because Rickea Jackson.
Take a look at that jersey, number 5 for the Chicago Sky, with Ryan Howard's name across the back. And right now, some fans of Angel Reese are reacting strongly to it. For some, that number feels like it should be off limits, something symbolic or even untouchable, tied to a player they believe made a lasting impact. But when you step back, it also raises a broader question about what truly earns that level of recognition within a franchise. It's a reminder that legacy in professional sports is usually built over time, through sustained performance, team success, and long-term contribution, rather than just a short stretch, no matter how impactful it may have felt in the moment.
By the way, just pointing that out. What's the problem? There are literally Angel Reese fans that want this jersey retired. The aunties and the unks want this jersey retired. You got to be more.
The reactions say a lot about where things stand right now. Some fans are calling it disrespectful, asking why that number wasn't left alone, even if it hasn't been officially retired. But that raises a fair question. What exactly defines that level of respect? Over 2 seasons, the Chicago Sky finished with 11 wins each year. Angel Reese showed flashes and put up strong individual numbers, but the team results didn't translate into playoff success or long-term impact. So now, with another player wearing number 5, the reaction has been intense. Some see it as disrespect, while others view it as part of how professional sports work. Numbers stay in circulation unless a legacy clearly demands otherwise. At the end of the day, it comes down to perspective, emotional attachment from fans versus the standards organizations typically use to define lasting recognition.
Good. That's good. Rickea Jackson should wear a different number respectfully of Angel and the greatness she accomplished for that franchise. How many games did they win in 2 years? How many games? What they win, like 23 games in 2 years, or 22 games, 20 games?
Here's what makes this situation even more overblown. Rickea Jackson has worn number 5 long before she ever got to the Chicago Sky. It's been her number since her early playing days and throughout her college career. That identity didn't suddenly start in Chicago. But because Angel Reese wore it for a short stretch with the Sky, some fans now act like the number should be off limits entirely. One comment summed up the divide pretty clearly, pointing out that a lot of newer fans may not be aware of that history. And honestly, that's less of an insult and more of a reflection of how quickly narratives can form without full context. At the end of the day, this isn't really about a jersey number. It's about perception versus reality, and how easily expectations can outpace what's actually been established.
Honestly, dog shit franchise. This is nothing productive. It just brings more hate. God, here we go. This one. Rickea's been wearing number 5 since she was a kid. All the hateful AR fans never watched basketball until they started hating Caitlin Clark, so they don't know this. Ooh, snap. My dude is telling the truth. Oh, okay.
The disconnect here is hard to ignore. Jersey numbers are typically retired for players who define an era, legends who bring championships and leave a lasting legacy. Michael Jordan's 23 in Chicago Bulls, no debate. Magic Johnson's 32 with the Los Angeles Lakers, same story. But applying that same standard to Angel Reese's number 5 with the Chicago Sky after a short stint and limited team success doesn't really line up with how these decisions are usually made. That's where the gap shows up between emotional reactions and the long-standing criteria teams use when it comes to honoring players at that level.
Star Natasha Howard is signing with the Minnesota Lynx, 2 years, $1.4 million. Sources tell ESPN. Every Fever fan just rejoiced. because nothing slowed down the pace of a Indiana Fever basketball game last year like Natasha Howard. Natasha Howard get the ball in.
Let's talk about what actually happened with Natasha Howard, because it connects to the bigger picture of how the Indiana Fever are reshaping their roster. Howard's move to the Minnesota Lynx on a 2-year, $1.4 million deal wasn't just another transaction. It signaled a clear direction shift. And interestingly, a lot of Fever fans saw it as a positive development. Not because Howard lacks talent. She's a proven all-star, but because her style didn't fully align with what Indiana is building. With Caitlin Clark leading a fast-paced, high-tempo offense, the system relies heavily on quick decisions, rapid ball movement, and transition efficiency. In that kind of setup, every piece needs to match the speed and flow. The move suggests the Fever are prioritizing players who naturally fit that tempo as they continue building around their core identity.
Throw up your hands because you were like, why are you running the ball down the court? Why are you running the ball down the court like a forward? It was terroristic to see. Let's just keep it real. It was terrorist activity, and we were all witness to the sloth-like nature of Natasha Howard taking the ball down the court. We ain't watching that now, at least not on our team.
One commentator put it in blunt terms. It was frustrating to watch at times. Harsh wording aside, it reflects what many fans were feeling about the fit. The Indiana Fever are clearly building around pace and spacing. With Caitlin Clark pushing tempo, Aaliyah Boston running the floor, and shooters like Victoria Vivian stretching defenses, the system depends on quick decisions and constant movement. At times, when Natasha Howard handled the ball after rebounds, the pace slowed, and it disrupted that rhythm. It created a noticeable contrast with the fast-flowing style the team is trying to establish. So the reaction from fans isn't really about disliking Howard as a player, it's about fit. They recognize the direction the team is heading and want a roster that consistently supports that identity.
Putting together a Caitlin Clark hit squad. People are talking about this being a hit squad. Dejanay Carrington has agreed to a 1-year deal to join the Chicago Sky. What the F? You have to admit, though, Chicago Sky is not going to be a pushover. They're not. That game, Angel Reese isn't even there anymore. That game may be spicier now than it was when Angel was there. Certainly may be more dangerous.
But the move that's really getting attention is Dejanay Carrington signing a 1-year deal with the Chicago Sky. Right away, the conversation shifted to what this could mean for matchups against the Indiana Fever. Carrington has a history of playing very physical defense, especially in games involving Caitlin Clark, including moments that sparked a lot of debate among fans. Some see it as tough, competitive defense. Others think it crosses the line. Either way, that reputation is now part of the storyline. With Carrington joining a roster that already embraces physical play, fans are already building narratives around these matchups. Whether those labels are fair or exaggerated, one thing is clear. Games between Chicago and Indiana are going to be intense, heavily watched, and heavily talked about next season.
Pointed it out, man. It is what it is. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. Giving Rickea Jackson number 5 is diabolical. Why is it diabolical? Y'all weird for not using number 5. Y'all seek mental help. Seriously.
Back to the jersey debate, because this is where the conversation gets interesting. The question being raised is simple. Should Angel Reese's number 5 be retired by the Chicago Sky? Among many fans who focus strictly on court production, the answer is mostly no. The argument is straightforward. Retiring a jersey is typically reserved for players with long-term impact, sustained success, and clear franchise-defining moments. But the reaction online shows this debate has moved beyond basketball. For many, it's no longer just about performance. It's about identity, loyalty, and the narratives built around certain players. Over TME, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark have become symbols in a much larger cultural conversation, and that has spilled into even the smallest roster details. A jersey number change, something normally routine, becomes a talking point. A signing becomes a controversy. Every decision gets filtered through that lens. Meanwhile, the Chicago Sky are in a clear transition phase, bringing in new pieces, adjusting their roster, and moving forward under a new direction. Players like Ryan Howard represent that next chapter, while Reese has already moved on to a new situation with a different opportunity ahead. At its core, though, the situation is much simpler than the online debate suggests. Players enter, players exit, and teams evolve. Jersey numbers get reused unless a franchise clearly defines a legacy strong enough to retire them. The real issue is that basketball discussion is increasingly being overshadowed by narrative-driven reactions. Instead of focusing on development, fit, or performance, every move becomes a referendum on respect or disrespect. So the question becomes, when do we separate player evaluation from online storytelling? Because if two partial seasons without sustained team success are enough on their own to demand jersey retirement, then the standards of what constitutes legacy in the league need to be re-examined.